You know that specific kind of low-level anxiety that kicks in when you're staring at your Wi-Fi settings?
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You're just trying to connect a new phone or maybe fix a slow connection, and you scroll down the list of devices on your network,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the usual stuff, living room TV, laptop, thermostat.
And then you see it.
Right. You see a string of random numbers and letters, or worse, just unknown device.
It's the universal who goes there moment of the modern age.
It really is.
You immediately start wondering if the neighbor is stealing your bandwidth or if your smart fridge has somehow joined a botnet.
Exactly. It's that little spike of paranoia. But here is the twist for you today. And this is where today's deep dive is going to take a really hard left turn into some wild territory.
Very wild.
Because the sources we have stacked up for today suggest that the unknown device on the network might not be a gadget you bought.
No.
It might not be a laptop or a tablet. It might actually be you.
And we aren't using you as a metaphor here.
Right. I'm your host, by the way, ready to jump right into this.
And I'm your resident tech expert, ready to unpack all this. Because we are talking about a fundamental shift in networking architecture. A shift where the infrastructure isn't just copper wire or fiber optic cables anymore.
It's biological tissue.
Exactly. The
Okay.
infrastructure is biological tissue.
This is honestly one of the most fascinating and probably eclectic stacks of research we've ever covered on a deep dive.
I would agree with that.
We are bridging the gap between some really hardcore, dry technical standards.
Like IEEE engineering specs.
Yeah, the stuff usually only network administrators read.
Mhm.
And we're bridging that with some very avant-garde, almost metaphysical theories about biological privacy and, wait for it, crystallography.
It is a totally unique combination, to say the least.
So if you're listening, our mission today is to understand how we went from the early internet to the internet of everything, which apparently includes our own bodies.
Right. We're going to look at MSCIDs, those standard digital identifiers, and how they've basically migrated from the back of your router into your bloodstream.
And then we're going to explore how the source material suggests we might reclaim our biological privacy using geometry and physics.
Which sounds like science fiction, I know.
It really does.
But the first half of this is grounded in very real, very established engineering standards that have been around for decades.
Okay, so let's start with the backbone of this whole discussion, the MSID.
Good place to start.
I feel like most people have seen this term, maybe on a sticker on their modem. But if I'm honest, I usually just ignore it.
Most people do.
What actually is a MSID in this context?
Right. So let's unpack the acronym first. MS stands for Media Access Control.
Okay.
And if you want the basic summary, it is a unique hardware number. It's a 48-bit identifier that acts like a fingerprint for a network interface.
And when you say fingerprint, you mean it's unique to that specific physical machine.
Correct. No two devices are supposed to have the same one. And crucially, it's usually burned in at the factory.
So it doesn't change.
Historically, no. It's permanent. And that is the big difference between a MAC address and an IP address. People often confuse those two.
I know I do.
The sources used a really helpful analogy here. Think of the IP address like the address on a letter you send.
Okay.
It handles the journey from start to finish, from your city to another country. It gets the package to the general neighborhood.
So the IP is like the global navigation.
Exactly. But the AMC address, that is the hop-to-hop delivery.
Hop.
Yeah. It acts like the physical street address of the house itself. The IP address gets the data to your router, but the MC address ensures the router knows exactly which device, your phone, your laptop, your printer, to hand that data to.
It's the final handshake.
Precisely. In the OSI model, which is that standard 7-layer model engineers use to describe how the internet works, the MACE address sits at layer 2, the data link layer.
Layer 2. Got it.
It's responsible for the immediate physical transfer of data between devices that are directly connected.
And this isn't new tech, right? This has been around for a while.
Oh, it's practically ancient in tech years. We're talking about standards established in the early 1980s by Xerox and the IE.
Wow.
They've been used for over 40 years to identify hardware. But back in the 80s, a device was a giant desktop computer.
Right. And today?
Today, it's the internet of everything. And this is the context you really need to grasp if you're listening. Everything that connects to a network needs one of these IDs.
Everything.
Everything. Smartwatches, smart rings, sensors and pacemakers, the chip in your running shoes. If it talks to a network, it has a MAC ID.
So the sheer volume of these fingerprints has just exploded.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
And that ubiquity is what sets the stage for the next part of the research, because we aren't just talking about connecting devices in a room anymore.
Right.
We are talking about connecting devices on and in a human body.
Which brings us to a term in the sources that I hadn't heard before. And it sounds straight out of a cyberpunk novel. The WBAN.
The WBAN, Wireless Body Area Network.
Wireless Body Area Network.
This is a crucial shift in the technology. The sources reference a very specific standard here, IEEE 802.15.6.
Yeah, I looked that up in the notes. It's literally titled Standard for Wireless Body Area Networks. But what does that mean practically? How does it differ from just using normal Wi-Fi?
Well, standard Wi-Fi is designed to blast a signal through the air, bouncing off walls, covering a whole house.
Right.
IEEE 02.15.6 is completely different. It outlines something called human body communication, or HBC.
Human body communication. Just let that sink in for a second.
I know. It essentially means the body itself becomes the transmission medium. We aren't just broadcasting through the air anymore. The signals can actually propagate through skin, fat, and muscle.
So my skin is acting like the Ethernet cable.
In a way, yes. The body is conductive. We're full of water and electrolytes.
Right, we're mostly water.
Exactly. So the standard exploits that natural conductivity to send data between devices. It's highly efficient because you don't need a high-powered antenna to blast a signal across a room.
You just ripple it.
Yes. You just ripple it across the surface of the skin to the next sensor.
That is both incredibly impressive engineering and, honestly, slightly unsettling.
Very unsettling.
So when we talk about a body area network, what does that actually look like on a person?
Picture a constellation of devices. In a WBAN, you usually have a coordinator, often called a central hub or a body control unit.
Like a smartphone.
A smartphone is the most common one, yes. But it could be a dedicated medical device clipped to your belt. This hub manages all the sensors on or in your body.
Okay.
And here's where the addressing gets interesting. We mentioned that hardware has a burned-in 48-bit MC address from the manufacturer.
Right, the permanent fingerprint.
But broadcasting that long string of numbers takes data, and data takes power.
Oh, I see where this is going.
If you're a tiny sensor implant, battery life is everything. So, in a body area network, the coordinator often assigns shorter temporary IDs.
Like a nickname.
Exactly like a nickname. It might use a 16-bit dynamic address instead of the full 48-bit one.
To save energy.
Right. Think of it like being at a party. You don't recite your full legal name and social security number every time you ask someone to pass the chips.
Yeah, that would be weird.
You just use a first name. It's efficient.
The sources mentioned some numbers regarding capacity that really surprised me. How many of these sensors, these nodes, can a single body network support?
Theoretically, the standard supports up to 256 nodes on a single body network.
256 devices on one person.
That is the theoretical upper limit. Now, in practice, for current medical monitoring, you're usually looking at around 50 devices.
But even 50.
I know. Think about that. That's monitoring your gait, heart rate, temperature, blood oxygen, glucose levels, maybe even neural activity.
You aren't just a person walking down the street anymore.
No, you are a moving mesh network. And these devices form little networks of their own. The sources use the terms piconet and scatternet.
Scatternet is such a great word. Unpack that for us.
It starts with a piconet. That's a small ad hoc network, typically using Bluetooth. It consists of one master device, like your phone, and up to 7 active slave devices.
And master and slave are the actual technical terms here.
Yes, those are the legacy terms used in the engineering specs to describe the clock synchronization.
Got it.
The master sets the rhythm, the slaves follow. But if you need more than 7 devices, you can link multiple piconets together.
And that's the scatternet.
Exactly. When you bridge them, that complex web is called a scatternet.
So I'm walking down the street, and I'm essentially a scatternet.
You are.
The implication here seems to be that we are leaking data. I mean, if I'm a walking network and I walk into a coffee shop, who else can see my network?
That is the privacy nightmare the sources focus on. Because these networks aren't hermetically sealed. They are constantly pinging and broadcasting to stay connected. The sources talk a lot about beacons.
Beacons. I feel like I've seen this term in marketing.
You definitely have. Beacons usually operate on BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy.
Okay.
They are small hardware transmitters that simply broadcast their identifier, their MCID, over and over again. It's like a lighthouse sweeping a beam of light saying, I am here, I am here.
And the ships seeing the light are our phones.
Exactly. In the retail world, this is huge. A store places beacons around the shop. As you walk through, your phone picks up the beacon's signal.
Right.
Because the store knows exactly where that beacon is placed, say in the shoe aisle, they know exactly where you are.
So they can map my physical path through the store just by listening to the pings.
Yes. And they can deliver proximity ads. You walk past the coffee makers and suddenly you get a coupon for a latte.
Wow.
But the sources highlight a different application that's becoming more popular: network jewelry.
I saw that in the notes. Things like Bond Touch or Tattoo.
Or the Google Fingers NFC resin pendants they mentioned.
Right.
These look like fashion accessories, bracelets, rings, pendants, but they're active network nodes. They're beacon-enabled. They might be used to send a little vibration to your partner's bracelet when you touch yours, or trigger an SOS signal.
But to do that, they have to be broadcasting.
Constantly, they are shouting their existence to the world, and the source material takes a much darker view on this. They describe a concept called hunting.
Hunting sounds incredibly ominous for a tech discussion.
It does, doesn't it? The idea is that larger, fixed wireless sensor networks, the kind installed in heavy traffic areas like shopping malls, airports, or smart city centers,
Yeah.
they can be used to hunt or target specific body area networks.
So big network looking for a small network.
Because your WBAN is broadcasting, a larger network can detect it, identify it, and potentially extract data.
That is terrifying.
It is, but here we need to make a really critical distinction that the sources point out.
Okay, what's that?
The difference between the envelope and the letter. The source asserts that while apps or sniffers can capture these MSIDs, the envelope, the actual payload, is usually encrypted.
So they can't necessarily read my heart rate or my medical history?
Generally, no. That data inside the envelope is proprietary and locked down.
Okay, well, that's a relief.
But they can see the envelope. They can see the MACID.
So they know that a device is there.
Yes.
They know it's a pacemaker made by a specific company. They know it's been standing in aisle for 10 minutes.
Exactly. The metadata is the surveillance. You don't need to read the letter to know a lot about the person.
Right, I see.
If you see a MSID associated with a specific medical device, and you see it moving slowly, and you see it stopping frequently, you can infer a lot about that person's health and behavior without ever breaking the encryption.
That is profound. It's not about the content. It's about the pattern.
Completely.
Which brings us to the section of the sources that gets a bit more metaphysical, or maybe biological is the right word.
Things take a shift here.
The source material argues that this isn't just about privacy in the traditional sense of, don't look at my credit card number. It's about biological privacy.
This is where the source pivots to a more radical argument. They suggest that the human peripheral nervous system is essentially being used as an antenna.
An antenna.
The claim is that biotelemetry allows for remote monitoring of physiological signals without explicit consent.
There was this term in the material, digital twin. Now, I've heard that in engineering, like making a digital twin of a jet engine to test it before a flight.
Right.
But a digital twin of a human.
The concept is exactly the same. It's a virtual replica of a patient, constantly updated by these biosensors. The idea is that by monitoring your WBAN, your heart rate, gait, blood pressure, skin temperature system can maintain a real-time digital version of you.
For predictive healthcare.
Right. To predict a heart attack before it happens, which sounds convenient.
Sure, it sounds great on paper.
But the source argues it creates a scenario of total biological transparency. You have no secrets from the network.
And I loved the specific question one of the listeners in the source material asked about this.
Oh, the potion question.
Yes. They asked, why can't I just drink a potion to get rid of my MCIDs?
It sounds like a joke, but the answer the source gave was pure physics.
It really was.
The expert in the source explains, you cannot drink a liquid to dissolve a radio frequency.
Right.
You can't drink a potion to stop a magnetic signal.
Because it's hardware.
It's hardware and it's physics.
Yeah.
Your body produces signals naturally. Your heartbeat is an electrical impulse. Your blood flow generates a magnetic field.
Yeah.
The sensors are designed to pick those up. A potion might change your gut chemistry, but it won't stop your heart from generating an electromagnetic field.
And it certainly won't stop the hardware on your wrist from broadcasting.
Exactly.
The source also touched on nanotechnology, didn't it? Something about graphene.
It did. There's a mention of graphene and metamaterials potentially being involved in these sensor networks. But the source argues that even if you could somehow detox these materials out of your body, the networking protocols are designed to be resilient.
Resilient how?
Think about the internet itself. It was designed to survive a nuclear war.
Right, routing around the damage.
If one node goes down, the data finds another path. The source suggests that in a dense internet of bodies, data could hop from body to body.
Right, body-to-body hopping.
Theoretically, yes. If your connection to the hub is weak, your data might hop to the person standing next to you.
Wow.
It could use their WBAN as a relay and then get to the cloud. You could be a relay tower for someone else's data without ever knowing it.
That is wild. You can't just turn off the physics of the network because the network is everywhere.
It's all around us.
So if we can't drink the problem away and we can't turn off the physics, what does the source suggest we do?
Wow.
This is where we get to the crystals.
This is the pivot to solutions. And I have to say, it is a fascinating blend of geology and signal theory. The source suggests using crystals and geometry as a form of defense.
Now, we need to be careful here to explain the logic of the source impartially, because for a lot of people, crystals just sounds like magic.
Right.
But they actually try to ground it in the physical structure of the body, don't they?
Correct. The argument rests on the idea that the human body itself is crystalline.
Crystalline.
They point to the fascia, the connective tissue, and the pineal gland, and the physical structure of water in our cells.
And because we have these crystalline structures, the theory goes that we resonate.
That's the claim. There was a phrase that kept popping up in the sources. Vibration is the geometry of sound.
I like that. It's very poetic.
It is, and if you accept that everything is vibrating energy, which, to be fair, quantum physics generally agrees with, then the shape of the matter dictates how it vibrates.
Okay.
The source introduces a methodology called block, shock, shunt, and shield.
Block, shock, shunt, shield. It sounds like a SWAT team tactic. How does a rock do that?
Through the mechanisms of refraction and reflection, the source suggests using stones to refract signals, basically bending them away, or reflect them, similar to how a mirror reflects light.
Interesting.
But it's not just about having the rock in your pocket, it's about the shape of the rock.
Geometry again.
Yes. The source claims different shapes handle energy differently. For example, spheres are described as omnidirectional.
Meaning they go in all directions.
Exactly. They radiate a field equally in all directions, creating a bubble.
And what about pyramids?
Pyramids are said to build energy in lines, focusing it upwards or outwards. And then there are dual points.
What are those?
Crystals with points on both ends. The source says these are used to extend range, pushing the energy field outwards to create a larger perimeter.
So you're essentially building a fortress of geometry around your body to scramble or deflect the MHACID signals.
That is the theory. It's about creating biological noise to jam the digital signal. But the source adds a human element to it as well. It's not just the rock, it's the concurrence.
Concurrence. That's a very specific term. Unpack that for us.
It's defined as using your own biofield, your will, your intention, your energy, aligned with the vibration of the crystal.
So it's an active process.
Yes. You aren't just holding a rock, you are tuning your nervous system to resonate with it.
Reminds me of tuning a guitar. You're trying to get your body's frequency to match the shield you're building.
Precisely. And the source even mentions a specific physical technique to help with this tuning. Voluntary piloerection.
Voluntary piloerection. That's a fancy medical term for making yourself get goosebumps, right?
It is. It's not a superpower everyone has, but many people can do it. The source claims that by voluntarily inducing goosebumps, you can actually change the amplitude of the wavelengths around your body.
How does that work?
Think about it physically. When you get goosebumps, your skin tightens. The
Wow.
little hairs stand up. You are physically altering the surface geometry of your skin.
Which is your antenna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The claim is that this elongates the biofield, potentially creating a buffer against incoming signals.
That is absolutely wild.
It is.
Using goosebumps as a bioantenna tuner to fight off a smart city surveillance network.
It connects right back to the core idea of the body as a network. If the body is a transmitter and receiver, then theoretically, altering the physical state of the body would alter its transmission properties.
It's a lot to take in. I mean, we started with IE standards for Ethernet cables in the 80s, went through smart jewelry tracking us in malls, and ended up using rose quartz and goosebumps to jam the signal.
It is a sweeping journey. But I think the synthesis here is really important.
Yeah,
Because whether or not you subscribe to the crystal theory, the underlying premise of the source material is undeniable.
which is what?
The boundary between biological self and digital network is vanishing. We used to log on to the internet. We used to sit down at a desk and go online.
Right.
Now we are the internet. We
Yeah.
are nodes in the mesh.
And the protocols that govern our phones, the MBIDs, the handshakes, the PECANETs, are now the protocols governing our health and our privacy.
It forces you to look at your smartwatch a little differently.
It really does.
It's not just counting your steps. It's assigning you a dynamic address and integrating you into a massive, invisible infrastructure.
And the source leaves us with a very provocative thought to chew on.
Yeah.
If your body is broadcasting data like a radio station, your heart rate, your temperature, your location, do you actually know who is tuning in?
And more importantly, if the off switch doesn't exist anymore because you can't turn off your heart or your skin conductivity,
Right.
is biological encryption the next frontier? Whether that's through awareness or geometry or crystals.
It really raises the question, in a world of total connectivity, is the only true privacy finding a way to scramble your own signal?
It's definitely something to mull over the next time your phone auto-connects to a network you didn't ask for.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have for this deep dive. Thanks for going down the rabbit hole with us.
Always a pleasure.
See you on the next one.